anything up.
In theory, that's not 100% true. All right, everything's rolling. Gonna start in just a second. You are tuned in to Mavs Sports Take, episode 16, I believe we're on now, and we're joined now by Mr. Mike Newton, who is the Warriors gaming squad head coach of the NBA 2K League, former graduate assistant at Cleveland State University, basketball operations assistant for the Wisconsin Herd, before joining the Santa Cruz Warriors coaching staff. And now, like I said, Warriors gaming squad head coach, something that I'm finding a lot about over the last couple of days, because I didn't know too much about this, Mike. Before we get started, man, how's everything going for you health-wise? I know it's a crazy world we're living in right now.
Yes, man. First off, I just want to say thanks for having me on the show. I'm really excited, to dig into the gaming world. Everything's good here, man. I mean, I got an opportunity I probably wouldn't have, to get back home. I'm in Cleveland right now, spending some time with family and friends. The holidays coming up. Got some well-deserved time with my daughter, so I'm excited to be home. And just wait for the season to start.
Absolutely. So, Mike, I feel like I hope that me and David just aren't completely oblivious to the world. I feel like maybe some people don't know too much about the NBA 2K League, the Warriors gaming squad that you were the head coach of. Can you just take us through briefly how you got involved with the team, just a little of the backstory to how you became in the role that you are now?
Yeah, so kind of like you too, I was oblivious as well. I mean, I've heard of the 2K League, you know what I mean? I didn't really know much about it. So one day, I was at home with my father. We're just outside in the driveway. At this time, I had already been offered the Santa Cruz opportunity, and, I accepted. So I was excited, ready to move. And my GM, Ryan Atkinson of the Santa Cruz Warriors, reached out, and he was like, hey, like, do you know anything about 2K? And it was just really random. So I'm like, I told my dad, like, hey, like my GM just reached out to me. I don't know if he's asking, can I play to like be a player on the team? I have no idea what's going on. So after I'll say 3 to 5 minutes, he was like, hey, like, I think it'll be a good opportunity for you to coach. So like I told everybody, at first I declined it, the interview process. I was like, I'm okay. Reason being, after the G League season, I think it's half a year, I spend most of my time and opportunity, to network. I work in the NBA Summer League during the summer, so I didn't want to, that to chip into my other opportunities of networking. So, being a professional, you always reach back out, say thank you for thinking about me, the opportunity. And then at that point, my GM was like, I appreciate it, but I still think you should at least interview. So when he said that, I just looked at my dad. I was like, I mean, basically this guy's telling me I have the job. So I interviewed for like a month, I believe. And luckily I got the job. And then that's kind of how I got involved, man.
That's super interesting. I kind of want to, like, so in the interview process, I'm just trying to like,
yeah,
really
that's what I'm into. Yeah, what's the interview process?
Right. Or did you like sit down, get on the sticks and show that you had some game? Like, what's the process there?
So this was pre-COVID. So at this time, I think this was early, when was this? This might've been August. So like mid-August, he reached out. So from there, I believe that Rustin, so that's the GM that CB talked about in the other episode, Rustin Lee, which is my manager. We work hand in hand. He reached out. I talked to him, kind of interviewed. So honestly, I was just upfront with him, and I was, very honest and just told him like, hey, I play 2K, but not competitively. I don't really play online. I just play back at the crib with the friends, and just kick it, chill, like it's nothing serious. And he was like, I mean, that's fine. Like, we could teach you that, but really we're looking, for someone to be personable. We're more leaning towards, someone who could really mold these guys, and not so much on the sticks, but off the sticks. And we're just looking for a relationship guy. So that's something I feel as though one of my skill sets is, being personable, being likable, but also being able to, be that liaison, amongst the younger crowd, because I'm not, older, but at the same time, I can relate to these guys as a professional. So that was that. And then, I think from there I interviewed with, it's kind of random, but the last coach, his name's Tommy. I reached out to Coach Tommy and we talked. So got feedback from him. Then one of our scouts, who was Josiah, who he'll be a GM in the 2K League one year. He's a very smart analytics guy. Interview with him. And I believe I talked to one more guy who oversees all of esports, which is Hunter Lee. So it was like 4 guys, man. And a lot of the questions was just, uh, what would I instill? Like they put me in scenarios like, defensively, how would you play? Like just random questions just thrown at me. And, for me, it was different because, I'm thinking from a real life perspective. And as we'll get into, and as you guys probably know, it's not real life, it's a video game. So some of my, schemes wouldn't work in 2K. And I just had to understand that as time went on.
Now, when did you fall in love with basketball? Where did it begin? When did you start playing and coaching? Take us through your younger years and this love for the game that now is translated to the electronic love of the game.
For sure. So yeah, I played basketball my whole life, man. My parents got me into sports really early with the intentions on, again, being able to build relationships, create friends. It's the easier way to create friends, learn teamwork. So I think I started playing basketball right around 5. I think my first time playing competitively, like not outside, but in an actual league was probably around 8. At the time I was decent. I wasn't really good. And that's kind of how I was every year in sports. Like my first year was pretty rough. I would say I was a soft kid to start, but as time went on, like I said, those second years really picked up. So, I played in little rec leagues, and then I think it was one year, I was probably around 10 or 11, and I was playing in this rec league, and I realized I was really good. I scored like 28 points, probably like 3 times. So from there, one of our rec teams also was a traveling team. So they asked me to join. And it was my first time out of the city of Cleveland. So I went to Dayton, Ohio. I had a great showing. From there, another team reached out to me and my best friend, Team Berea Sports. And, we took them to the next level. And then that got me, I played for King James Shooting Stars, so LeBron's AU team. I played for them on the AU circuit. So, I've been playing competitively my whole life. I played collegiate basketball. So I played for King James Shooting Stars, the EYBL, which a lot of you'll see the NBA guys go to, a lot of NBA guys start there for traveling basketball. In Cleveland, Ohio, if you look up my high school, St. Edward, I have a very great coach in Eric Flannery, who, he coaches USA basketball every year. He coached in McDonald's All-American game. He coached in the Jordan Brand Classic game. And then I went on to play collegiate basketball under Rolly Massimino, who coached at Villanova championship in 1985. So Northwood University was a D2 NAIA, went on to, play. I transferred from his school, got homesick, transferred and played my last 3 years at a school in Ohio called Urbana University, which is now shut down. And then from there, that's when I went to, Cleveland State. So, I've had runs, I've been all around the world playing basketball before I got into my coaching career.
Awesome. And Mike, I wanted to ask about, that transition, right? Because like I've been in that transition of coming from a player to a coach. It's like weird, right? Like I felt like it was really weird, especially like early on, right? Like, cause you're just,
for sure,
you have that player mentality. Then all of a sudden you can't really affect the game as much as you want to, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a little bit weird, but talk to me a little bit about maybe the transition from player to coach. I know you were also in the basketball operations assistant. So like the different roles that you went into, what was the transition like from a player to those various roles?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that was really tough, man. My first year when I player to like graduate assistant. So, bottom of the totem pole, I think I was getting paid a stipend. So I think it was like $398 a month. Like that was tough, man, taking master's classes and like I would practice with these guys. I thought I was good enough, especially being a kid, coming from a D2, practicing against, Division I guys. You score one time, you get the big head, like, oh, this. But you got to keep like in your mind and keep that vision ahead that you're a coach. You know what I mean? So it was tough, man, going from having my laundry washed to washing laundry. Some of the tasks, just picking up food, and it was very humbling, to say the least. To become like going from a player into a selfless role. But I think my first year at Cleveland State was the toughest for me. It was just like, man, it was a culture shock. And then going to Milwaukee, working with the Bucks G League team, it was still tough just because it was from college to NBA and everything was so player oriented and it has to be this way. Like, and if it's not, it's the end of the world. So for me, it was like, man, I had to, sharpen up on my attention to detail. And, after my first couple of months in the G League with the Bucks, that's when I really made strides. And I realized, like, I just gotta, like I said before, just pay more attention to detail, understand that it has to be perfect, everything. Like if one margin was off on my typing, like they're gonna notice this. So there's no shortcut. So that experience at Cleveland State really helped me. Some of the roles and duties that I had as a coach over the years, or basketball operations assistant, which I still have to this day, is scouting. So whether that's for, games or just previews, I would send to the GM. I will also help with trades and, picking up free agents. In the G League, we call that available player pool. I practice with the guys, so I still go to court. I'm also like outside of practice time. So if guys want to come in late night gym sessions, I'm opening the gym, putting them through their own individual workout, just me and them one-on-one. I do what I'm really in love with is player development. And that's what I try to strive for with my 2K team. Like I want you to be just as good off the court as you are on the court. So some of my roles right now with the G League team, I set up all of the, any type of extracurricular. So I'll give you two. I set up a visit to Sony for our whole team, the headquarters. So PlayStation and Sony headquarters. I set up a visit where we got like a tour. And then the NBA League office, I set up a tour in New York to take our team there. So I'm really into that stuff. Yeah, but I wear multiple hats. And just like anybody else, I'm not special at all, man. I mean, if you're in the G League, like it's what it comes with. You have to wear multiple hats. And that's just what I do.
Now you were talking about, knowing the available player pool and stuff, and then knowing how to do, scout and all this. Take us through what is the process of identifying and selecting a player in the 2K League? Like, how does this process? Again, knowing the NFL draft process, I'm very aware of it. But how do we scout the player? Like when we talked to CB13, he was talking about being scouted and ranked, and then going on stage and getting a Warriors hat, and like. It was amazing. So tell me more about that process.
So last year was my first year coaching. So last year I actually wasn't a part of the scouting process just because in Warriors League, you can't be double hired. So I couldn't hold two titles at once. But right now I'm actually currently going through, some of the scouting with our front office staff. So our GM, like I mentioned before, Josiah's a scout. We have a couple of other guys where what they do is these kids, they stream. So, they have Twitch accounts where, they're playing online, but they stream so you can watch them. And then, you can hear them talk. They're in the chat. So, they're also on teams with other prospects. So, I mean, I just think a lot of it is, these GMs on other teams, they talk, players talk. So CB13, I know, was involved a lot because he's a smart kid. He's involved a lot with the scouting last year. And like I said, you just watch, depending on team needs. Like our team, we're basically bringing back the core of our team. I mean, we're bringing back four returners, and that's the most you can bring back. So we'll be drafting 2 players. And, for the most part, our job is that we know exactly what we need. We need either, a big or a 4. And then your 6 man, I'm not going to give away the secret juice, but your 6 man, depending on what, players or what teams are looking for, that's how you go about getting your 6 man. So our team did a great job. Like I said, I wasn't involved in it, so I can't take credit, but our GM and our staff did a great job of identifying talent, but also making it mesh by getting the right pieces. But I mean, it's definitely a process. You scout, right? You depend on team needs, you look at the players, and then to CB's point, they even have mock drafts. Like I've seen a couple of mock drafts today on Twitter. And then, they have like a on stage where it's just like the NBA draft where these guys get drafted, they get their hat, they take a picture with the commissioner, get interviewed, man. I mean, it's the real deal, man. It's the real deal.
Wait, hold on. But you're talking about scouting a digital player. So when you're talking about running a 4, it could be a 12-year-old that's like 5'2" playing the 4 position, right?
Yeah. So basically, you can create your player. So first, let's just go through this. So the league, and I know you were just joking with the 12, but they have requirements, right? So you have to be of age. So I think it's 18. You got to have it's a requirement to have a certain amount of games. Your win percentage has to be, at a certain level, and you have to be invited to the draft combine. So we skipped that. There actually has a combine.
So there's a draft combine.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So from there, everybody's in this combine and you're kind of watching players. And then from there, Like, it doesn't matter how tall. So for instance, I'm 5'10". I tell people I'm 6 foot. You know,
Same.
if
I
I
tell people
want,
I'm 5'6", but I'm 5'10".
so for me, yeah, I'm 5'10", but I can make my players 6'7". Like, they create their players to a certain standard. So, you know, and these players all have certain abilities that they can create. So for instance, my big fella, I think he's like 6'2", but he has a big man. I think his big man is like 6'10", and he's a glass cleaner, or maybe 7. I don't know, but glass cleaner meaning like his job is literally, or his best attributes are rebounding, you know, setting screens, and then finishing. As somebody else, you don't see too much of this. They can have a 5 who's 6'10" popper. So that guy may not be as good as, you know, my stretch on the glass and finishing, but he can shoot better than that big. So it's so much that goes into like the players and how they create them, man. It's wild. It's wild, man.
I see David's head spinning right now. I see
Yeah.
it's trying to get in there, but
Well, yeah, because when I was oh no, hold on. When I was a young player, young man, I used to play Madden, and we'd create our own players and do that.
Right.
But you couldn't call it a glass cleaner or a
For
popper.
sure.
You were just creating somebody with height, weight,
Ratings.
speed,
Yep.
and that was it. And then you put them out there, and you played. So like, to hear these other, how intricate it's become, and so now these kids like CB, he's creating his athlete, and then he's playing this athlete off screen, off court, I guess it would be called, and as you guys young people call it, on the sticks. And and then he's playing this player that he's created. So you got to be part creator, part skill to play the game.
For sure. Yeah. And like I said, like, these guys, they take days and months, and, you know, of just scanning which build, and they call it the build, which build is the best, because each position probably has, I would say, anywhere from like 8 to 12 builds. So I only gave you 2. A center may have, you know, two-way athletic finisher, glass cleaner. One may be, you know, a popper. One may be, you know, brick wall. One. So there's all these different names and types of builds that you can use. And all these guys are just trying to find the best build to use and then play from there. So I think CB last year started off as a slashing playmaker, where he couldn't shoot as good, but he was athletic. So he would get to the rim and just dunk on everybody. But as the year went on, and you can change throughout the season, like, you can change game to game. So as the year went on, guys started to lay off him and force him to shoot. So at that point, I think he went to like a pure, I don't even remember what it was. There's so many names, but he went to a point guard that could shoot. And, you know, from that point on, you know, his statistics went up, his 3-point percentage went up. But it's basically, you know, you tailor your game towards the build that you choose. So if you're going to choose a pure sharp, which is a shooter, and you love to shoot, then you should pick that build. Why would you pick, you know, a slashing guard when you want to shoot threes, if it makes sense? So that's what the build does for you. It helps you, you know, tailor towards the game that you want to play.
Yeah, my head's about to explode.
Well, Mike, I'm curious about the NBA 2K League a little bit, because you talked about it a little bit, obviously, throughout the interview. How many teams are in the league, and how competitive is it just being around the league, and how difficult and how great are some of these players that you're talking about?
Yeah, so it's 23 teams. It's very competitive. They said last year was the most competitive, and I believe for 2 reasons. You know, a lot of talent came in last year, and, you know, I think with the talent that came in, a lot of the older guys who have been in the league kind of underestimated how good this past draft pool was. And I mean, it made for a great season. And then second, it was remote play. So it was the first year of remote play. So, you know, typically, or generally speaking, every week, you know, all of the teams, for the most part, unless you have a bye, they meet up in New York, and they play, you know, in a neutral arena in New York, where they're facing face to face, like across from the room. So they're on the same network, the same connection. And that way there's no lack of speed. There's no lagging. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're on the same playing field. This year, you know, all the teams we dealt with, they dealt with, you know, lag outs. So what I mean by lag out is, you know, during the game, connection may just be dropped and boom,
Right.
game's over. You know what I mean? You got to start over. or, sometimes, their megabytes just weren't fast enough. Their speed just wasn't fast enough to play. So it was so much that went into it where, a team. So say, for instance, we're playing the New York Knicks gaming squad and we're playing on the East Coast server. We're delayed. So we got to get used to that lag time. So, when you think of muscle memory, my guys are playing on the West Coast on our PCs, on our connections where they got it down pat. But when you play in New York, you're playing on their connection. So now, we're like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, why am I missing everything? So you got to get used to it. But it was very competitive, man. I mean, and these kids, they go after it. It's funny to hear them on a mic because they talk crap and they just, I'm telling you, man, they're athletes. Like they're just like, even though they're not running around on the court, this and that, like it takes skill to do what they do. So.
And that's what I was going to ask about was the trash talk element, because that's one of my favorite parts about sports. Like when I played, like that was the thing, right? So I was like curious, like they're talking trash on the mics and everything. Yeah,
it's bad, man. So they can't hear each other. So basically, we get in Discord. So Discord is like another streaming app.
Yep.
For us, we're all on some. So it's my team, so my 5, myself, and then maybe like a scout or two, or our GM and then one scout, but they're on mute. So I can hear my team talking trash, but we can't hear the other team.
Gotcha.
But on stage, they can hear each other. Like they're face to face, like guys are standing up, like yelling at each other. Like it's crazy, man. It's crazy. And then afterwards, they take it to Twitter so that's one of the things I told my team I wanted us to work on with the culture. Like, don't take it to Twitter. Just what they like to say is GG, so good games, and I just say leave it at that. Don't really, talk too much trash on Twitter. Like, just keep it professional. But these other teams, man, they'll type away, man, type away. So yeah, it's the real deal, man. They'll talk trash.
That's amazing. Okay. So last year you guys had a good team, right? And a good finish.
Mm-hmm.
What's the expectations for this year?
I mean, the same that we left off last year. So coming in, I understood, the pressure of winning the championship. Like I said before, they returned, 4 guys last year. They lost a center who's one of the best centers in the league. But we got the best center in the draft. So we got him, and then we had a great 6-man where, coming in, championship or bust was the slogan. Like, hey, if we don't win a championship, season's a failure. And I hate to say that, but it's the truth. So as you guys know, we made it to the championship. We lost. Don't want to say it's a failure because I don't want to bash my guys, but definitely left a bad taste in our mouths, especially for my guys who returned from season 2 because they made it to the semifinals, one of the hottest teams in the league. Then the next step, they made it to championship. So, I mean, I'm going in with the same expectation. I mean, I'm bringing back, 4 of my guys, the 4 guys that we wanted. Right now, my staff, myself included, we're scouting games away. I'm trying to make sure we're doing our due diligence to fill in our last starting spot and get a 6-man in there that's willing to, sacrifice and for the better and the greater good of our team. And we're looking to return right back to the championship and, finish the business. So that's all it is to it, man. Regular season, go through that. I don't care about being undefeated or anything. I want a championship, and that's how my team feels as well.
Now, when does the season start, and when's it going to kick off? When, how do the listeners that might be intrigued right now tune in and give support?
So unfortunately, man, I do not know at this point in time. Like I said, with COVID going on, the NBA, we're trying to figure out the kinks of the NBA. We don't even know if there's going to be a G League season. 2K, obviously, they did a great job with remote play. But I think the league's still having meetings to figure out some scheduling and some timing on things. But right now, it's just too hard to call it, man, because we don't know. Hopefully, and we don't know, but hopefully we can get back on stage. So we don't know if maybe they'll start it later or we might have to do remote play again. So we just don't know, man. I'm just like you guys at this point in time, man. I'm just playing it by ear. My advice would be, if you have any type of social media, you can follow NBA2K League on all platforms. So, Instagram, Twitter, I'm sure it's on Facebook. And then if you want to follow us, Warriors Gaming Squad, and we're always putting updates on there as well with our guys. So those are 2 things I would follow if you're really interested and intrigued by the league and, following us this upcoming year.
Absolutely. And those are 2 good ways to follow, like Mike said, NBA 2K League, or you can follow Warriors Gaming Squad. So look out for the updates on season. Mr. Mike Newton, Warriors Gaming Squad head coach, with us again in the building. Mike, we're going to leave it for you for a last-minute shout-out or social media following. You already kind of mentioned social media there, but anything that you want to leave the listeners with, we really do appreciate you taking some time tonight.
No problem, man. I want to say thank you to Ryan and Dave. I really appreciate it, man. This was a lot of fun. I just want to shout out my team. I mean, they did a great job. Even some of the guys that, aren't returning, like, Jen, I'm wishing the best for Jen. He's with the next Nets gaming squad now, so I'm wishing the best for him. He was a integral part of our success this past year. Maddie was our sixth man. He didn't return, but who knows? Maybe in the draft we get him back. So he stepped in a couple of games and or maybe 6 or 7, won us some big time games and made some big time plays. For our 4 returners, so CB13, which you guys talked to, Gradient, that's Sammy, B Smooth, and Slaughter. I'm looking forward to getting back with those guys. I'm getting after it. And then my whole staff just gritting it out, working. Those guys, those are the guys who really, deserve the attention. My job would be a lot harder and I wouldn't be able to do it without those guys. So I would just shout out the whole Warriors Gaming Squad on, a great season, and then, just ready to get back to it once I get back out to California and the season starts. So you can also follow me. My Instagram is MikeCheck1__2. And I'm on Twitter some, and it's the same thing. So that's how you can follow me. But again, guys, I appreciate you guys. Everybody stay safe, and follow us, man. Follow us. We're gonna have a big year next year.
Absolutely, Mike. Well, you got some Mav gear coming your way. Just make sure you hit me up with your address and respond to that email so we can get you some Mav gear so you can sport it during practice or something.
Will do. I'll make sure to get to that email right now. Right now.
You go.
I need it. Size small.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's small. I like fitted.
Oh.